So, hi, Maddie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh, you're so welcome. Can we please start by you introducing yourself and your role?
Yeah, so my name is Maddie Pirrie, and I'm the head of community for By Women Built, which is a movement shining a light on female founders, specifically of consumer brands in the UK.
Amazing, thank you. So, for anyone new to By Women Built, perhaps this is the very first time they've heard of it, can you describe what it's all about?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a long-winded way that we do the whole introduction because Sahar Hashemi, who's the founder of By Women Built, sort of started it back in lockdown, and she is obviously a serial entrepreneur herself. She's founded Skinny Candy back in the 90s and went on to sell that, and then from her exiting her two businesses, she went on to speak a lot about entrepreneurship and speak to big corporates about the power of sort of bootstrapping and bringing that sort of feeling back to big companies. Anyway, and in lockdown, she was sat and she was reading the Rose review that NatWest did that came out with these sort of shocking stats that showed that the UK was like really far behind other countries developed at our same level for female entrepreneurship. And she was like, why is this happening? This is so strange. Like, I know loads of like incredible female entrepreneurs, like what's going on? And a lot of the research also pointed to the fact that there's a lack of confidence when it comes to entrepreneurship in women. And she was like, this is really strange, there's like a massive disconnect here. And I think there was also the stat that Santander did that was like 11 to 18% of 80% of 11 to 18-year-olds can't name a single female founder. And I think she had this light bulb moment where she saw this tweet and it was like, not everyone can invest in women, not everyone can mentor them, but we can all buy from them. And Sahar was like, oh my God, here we go. This is a great idea. We need to sort of connect the consumer to these incredible female founder brands that already exist and allow them to have power to put their money and support female founders in this way, because investment, it's not happening yet and no one's really realizing or waking up to the power of female founders. So what we can do is kind of connect the dots between the consumer who's choosing to buy products and female founders, and shine a light on the incredible stories. To give you an example, about 98% of our community start their brand from a personal need. And I'm waffling on because there's so many different elements, but essentially now we've kind of grown. It started as a WhatsApp group which Sahar started with a few, I think she says like 2 or 3 female founders that she knew, and it's just word of mouth grown. I think we officially launched in March 2023. And at that point, it was like a WhatsApp group of 60 founders, and we now have like over 3,000 submissions and active community membership of like 1,300 female founders. So it's just grown massively over those last 2 years. And we work with retailers and stuff to just kind of keep shining a light on that power. And then we've also got the community behind it where founders can share and learn from each other, which is kind of where I come in now. But I've been with Sahar since about September 2022. So yeah, that's like an overview. So if you want to pull out certain bits, because I do ramble on when it comes to, because there's so many great parts.
No, there are, and definitely, first of all, do not apologise for waffling because one, it's not waffle, and two, this is what you're here for. You're here so we can learn about it. So please do not apologise. That's all brilliant. I'm trying to think where I shall go next. Okay, so a lot of my listeners run product-based businesses either on their own or they've got a small team. What kind of support or benefits would they get from joining By Women Built?
So I think there's like multiple different angles. Obviously, we have founders coming in at every different stage. We've got founders coming in at the sort of 0 to 50 turnover mark who've just started their brand, or maybe they started it a while ago, but they haven't yet like scaled. We've kind of got founders in that middle bracket who are scaling quite rapidly, or they scaled previously quite rapidly and now they're kind of like teetering out and trying to take the next step. Or we've got founders coming in, that like over 5 million turnover, and they're kind of just trying to like elevate maybe for exit, or they're trying to grow their sort of leadership and scale even further. So it kind of depends, depending on what stage you're at, but everyone essentially will come to us raising their hand that they're female founded. They will join as a member. They will then get the accreditation for the kite mark to use, which is our logo, which you can put on your packaging and product and website, which basically says you're a By Women Built brand. And the criteria for that is on the website, but essentially it shows that you're sort of 50% female founded, and there's a woman at the helm of the business who's founded the business, who's running it day to day. And that can be co-founded as well. Like we have a lot of co-founded brands in By Women Built. But once you join, you'll come onto the online platform where we run events, you know, which will be like, we vary from sort of meeting our team to learning events. We have like Amazon panels or Dragon's Den panels, which is so interesting because founders that have been on Dragon's Den will come and talk to the community and answer their questions. Or we have like power hours where some of our like really incredible brands have scaled massively, like Joanna Jensen from Child's Farm or Thea from Nails Inc. will come and do like a Q&A session where the community sort of log on and ask them questions about how they managed to scale their business. So that's kind of the events. And then we also have like a forum, which is always, we call it our like always on community, which is essentially like a social media platform for female founders. And I think what's really lovely is the community started really authentically. Like Sahar always intended it to be this movement, connecting with retailers, getting the kite mark out there so consumers could spot brands. But also what came out really authentically was that founders were sharing, and loads of them kept saying to Sahar, like, I've never had this space to just have like loads of people that understand exactly what I'm going through. Like being a founder is so tough. I'm running it, you know, a lot of founders do it alone, especially being a female founder, that adds like extra difficulties. And it's just nice to be able to have a space where I can just openly talk and be like, oh my God, like my manufacturer's disappeared, what the hell do I do? Or I'm really struggling to optimize meta ads, is anyone else like pulling their hair out at 3 a.m? And everyone be like, yes, I totally get you. So I think that's like also the beauty, is that like not feeling alone, and there's always a space to come. And our community is specifically for female founders of consumer brands, so everyone has that, like it's all relatable in that chat. We don't really have too much mix because we understand the importance of like the conversation being really valuable for everyone, especially as more and more members are coming in. But aside from that, brands collaborate with each other. We've had loads of great examples of, you know, brands launching a product together even, or doing sort of pop-ups together, or so that space is also for that. And then obviously we work with retailers. So I don't know if you just I've seen our Ocado aisle. We've now got like the By Women Built aisle, which is like the first UK supermarket aisle dedicated to female founded brands. You can go on and filter. So essentially the retailers come to us and say they want to work with us, and then we'll do our best to kind of do as much of an activation involving as many of our brands as we can. Usually it will be the ones that are stocked with the retailers, but then that allows other brands, you know, because these retailers really do value female founded brands, you know, it's built from purpose, you know, they really value the stories behind them. And, you know, we all know women hold 80% of household spend. So it's like, actually, women are really incredible at starting businesses that people actually want to buy, because they know what needs to be there, because they're the ones spending the money. So the retailers really value that. And then so they kind of, from that, we've had a few buyer days, and, you know, they get to know the ecosystem around us. So there's always opportunities for brands to utilize that, you know, the fact that they are female founded, because it is actually a really, really, you know, valuable thing. And we just see so many innovative and incredible leaders. And I think that's kind of coming into this sort of holistic thing that is By Women Built, movement that is By Women Built. So there's all these different things. And then we also have our corporate partners, Goldman Sachs, Rothschilds, NatWest, and Trowers and Hamlin, who all kind of lean in their different ways. Trowers and Hamlin kind of give BWB rates for brands, and we really focus on bringing in partners that really care about the movement and giving back to the community. So there's lots of different ways, from like events to learning about things, or having dinners and space for meetups that our partners really lean into. So that's basically in a nutshell everything. But yeah.
Amazing, thank you. That is a lot. So yeah, there's an awful lot.
It's a very like holistic bubble that you're coming into, but the main part, I guess, is just being aligned with the movement that we're creating.
And thank you for explaining it's for consumer-based businesses as well. And I think that's one of the things that makes it really unique, because I personally do quite a lot of networking, and I'm in quite a lot of different memberships. But I would say almost, and a lot of them, in fact, all of them are for women. However, I would say the majority of the women in those spaces are in service businesses.
Yeah.
And so it must be really great to have somewhere for product businesses where everyone else there is also selling products, because the challenges are so unique, and they're not really comparable.
They're not really comparable. And I think, the reason we actually love, like, we get a lot of service business submit their brand, and we love them and they're incredible. And I think we want to find a way to bring them in. But I think our main aim is connecting with consumers. So if that's our main goal, to like allow consumers to find women built brands, it only makes sense for the brands that are in by Women Built to be consumer led brands. And then, as you say, the conversation is so specific that with so many voices as well, it just makes sense that like most of the questions that are being asked, everyone is like learning from it and finding value in it, or being able to give back at least. So yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So as well as being a community focused brand, is there a minimum stage a business needs to be to get involved, or can you get involved as a startup or a less established brand?
Yeah, you can get involved at any stage pretty much. Like, our guidelines are on our website. We kind of hope that you have a working website, at least, like there's a website attached to your brand, and that you're trading somewhere. Like a lot of the brands, they might not be selling through their website, but they have a website and they're selling wholesale and somewhere. So we can kind of check. We do ask that most companies are limited companies. Obviously, there are a few exceptions, and I will be the person that kind of goes through each of those individual applications, and we'll have kind of a look around and make sure that everything's checked out. But in terms of business stage, like if you've got all of those things off the ground, then to be honest, our smallest bracket is 0 to 50, and a lot of our community take up that chunk of turnover anyway, because that is the starting point that everyone that goes from. So I don't want anyone to think, because we do get this at some events of people being like, I'm not big enough to join, if they know, like, we had an event in Manchester and Nadeem Marabi, who was there doing a sort of fireside chat with Sahar, and some people emailed me and were like, oh, I just didn't think this was right for me because she's so big. And it's like, no, that's completely not the point. The point is that everyone's on the same journey, and even though Nadine's got to this point, she started somewhere and she knows what it's like to be at that 0 to 50 point, and that's all learning from each other, and majority of our founders are that 0 to 50. So yeah, even if you are at the start, then please come in, because we'd love to have you.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm so glad you shared that, because you're right. I think a lot of people sort of disqualify themselves from various groups or communities because they think I'm not big enough, I'm not earning enough, or whatever it is. So that's really great to know that. So thank you for that.
They all start at that level. You can't just suddenly be an overnight success. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, exactly.
And it also sounds really valuable that you have lots of members at that level, because I think there's nothing like learning from other people who are at a similar stage to you.
Mm-hmm. Completely. And you can all learn, and that's the thing, is everyone's in different industries and everyone has different backgrounds. So there's always something that you can learn from someone. And recently, because our members have grown so big, we've started this thing called pods, where we're bringing founders from similar stages into smaller groups, about 8 to 10, where they can like have a small WhatsApp group for themselves as well, because it is so important to share. And I think it's just that thing of, yes, you want to scale your business and you want to be in your business all the time, but you need those moments where you're like, oh my God, I'm so bloody overwhelmed with everything that's going on right now, and just have that person that completely understands what you're going through. And I think that's the point with what you're saying, with like people at the same stage as you, is they know exactly the tribes and tribulations that you're going through. So yeah, please come in. There's someone for everyone in the community.
That's brilliant. And those pods make a lot of sense as well, because I think the other thing is it's really important to have that connection. And it sounds like By Women Built is all about connection and community. Have you got any examples of any collaborations or connections that you've seen come from people sort of connecting by being part of the community?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I think, it's incredible. The turnover of our community combined now is like 2.8 billion. And I think not even just the individual ones, it's when everyone comes together. For example, even when we do something like Ocado, or we do something like the Whole Foods windows that we did back in early 2024, where we took over all windows of Whole Foods Market and had all the faces of the founders, and just the way that all those founders came together and shared it on social media was just so powerful. And it really does show you the power of like creating a movement where loads of people back the same message. Is like it flooded people's LinkedIn. Everyone was like, I literally can't get away from this. And it is just that sheer power. I mean, you know, individually some brands might have 2,000 followers, or you know, some of the really popular ones have like, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers. But when they're together, we've got a community that's got like nearly 75-80 million followers, and it's like, this is the power of creating movement. But you know, apart from that, we've had loads of incredible ones. A few of the smaller brands did like a charity collaboration and raised like £20,000. We've had like the Overnight Oats and Matcha created a product together. Humble Crumble and Biscuiteers did like a special range of like Christmas mince pies. So it varies. It's so fun. Or, you know, Bijou de Mimi did a pop-up in February, and we had like a big giveaway with like loads of the brands coming to give away to people that were there. So it really varies. There's so many different types of collabs, but I just love seeing them, and especially when people put the kite mark on their product as well. It's just so fab to see. So yeah, I'm always getting excited about various different collaborations when they come up.
No, I can see. And women are great, aren't we? We are really good at supporting each other and collaborating.
I mean, Sahar was saying this. She said, you know, we've been told quite a lot that women aren't very good at, you know, business. And it's like, networking is literally in our DNA. Like, we are so good at sharing really deeply and caring really deeply that like networking is literally our bread and butter. And however, I don't know how we ever believed that we weren't welcome in these spaces of like men's clubs. And, you know, this is literally our bread and butter. And it's so fab. I'll tell you another thing, because obviously I get to see all the submission forms when they come in. And we have one question at the end that says, what is your one question to Buy Women Built, after they filled in everything else? Like, what one question do you want to ask us? And I would say about 70% of them is literally, how can I support another female founder? Like, it's not self-centered at all. It's literally just, I want to help other people. So I think that's the real beauty. And I think Sahar really put that sort of emphasis on the community when it first started, was this isn't necessarily to make money, this is a social enterprise, and we're really running it to give back to female founders and give female founders a space where, you know, they can grow and feel strong by being supported by other women and other female founders. So yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Now, I'm sure nobody is thinking this, but let's say someone is still on the fence, they're still wondering if joining Buy Women Built is worth it. What would you say they can expect to get from being part of the community?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what, you know, I've said already, is finding that tribe and finding people that really understand what you're going through. And I think it's just nice when you have a forum of people, you learn new ideas, you see new things all the time. And I think it just keeps you asking questions, keeps you growing. And I think sometimes when you do things alone, it's quite easy to get stuck in your ways and kind of not bother to ask those questions, because you feel, oh God, I haven't asked those questions for so long, and now I'm a bit nervous and I don't know who to ask. And it's just literally that space that you feel like you can just log on and someone will be there to answer and help you out. And I think that's so important when you're, especially in the early days, and it's just you know, doing it yourself. And a lot of the founders who have been with us from the beginning, or, you know, founders like Thea Green, for example, who started Nails Inc., who's a B2B OG, she says, I wish I had something like this when I was first starting out. And I think those guys who have been with us for a long time but have also scaled their business and exited it really have seen how valuable it is, even in those end parts of their journey, just by being able to come to a dinner and just, or being able to come to a community event and just have someone that understands what you're going through. And I think it's really important for women and really important in business anyway. So yeah, I'd say that's like probably the main thing that you're going to come away with. But obviously there's so many opportunities that are coming our way, and we're continuing to grow every single day, just through word of mouth. So yeah, I think just come along for the journey.
That's brilliant, thank you. So I'd like to ask a bit of a broader question, if that's okay. I'd love to know, so what are your hopes for the next few years, either for Buy Women Built or for female-founded brands a bit wider? Because obviously Sahar started this because, you know, of what the research said about female founders at the times. What was that, 5 years ago? And things have, I hope, changed a bit since then. But what are your hopes for the next few years?
Yeah, I think we want to optimize the community, and this is my selfish thing, want to optimize the community and make sure that it's working well for every single person that sort of comes through the doors, and they're all getting that same experience as each other, especially as the numbers start to grow. And I think our main aim is to have every single female founded brand in the UK aware of our movement and part of it, just because there's power in numbers. But I think, we've already started to see a difference. We just released some research with Nielsen, who do data reports on consumer stats, and they did some research for us, and it found that they asked the survey population, how likely would you be to choose another product that was female founded over a similar alternative, and it was 30% at the beginning, and then they got shown the Buy One Built logo, and it was like, would you choose a product marked Buy One Built over a similar alternative? How likely would you be? And that jumped to 74% of women. It was 60. I actually need to double check, but it was 62% for everyone, and then 74% for women. And just shows that power of spotlighting something, having a message, makes such a difference. So I think for a while we've been building up the community element and getting founders on board, but I think for us it's really going out now and hitting all the consumers and getting everyone really aware of what we're doing, because it does work, and getting as many retailers as we can on board, making it like a staple in the UK that every retailer and the government backs, because it is actually commercially viable. And it's also so important for young women to see role models. There's so many role models out there on social media, edited pictures, false lives. And when you actually look at the women that have started these businesses, they're such powerful stories. And there's no cookie cutter of what they look like. They're all completely different. They all come from completely different backgrounds, and it's just so lovely to be able to hear every single one of their stories. So I think for us it's just growing that movement to be nationwide, if not further, and for people to really recognize that stamp and what it stands for and what it means, and for young girls to be able to see the power of female entrepreneurship and female business owners, and be actually, yeah, do you know what, I can name a female founder because I've seen the Buy One Built logo on this thing, and I'm going to buy that product because it empowers me, and I'm going to go and tell my friend this woman's story and maybe be inspired to start something myself and not feel limited. And I think for a long time women have felt a bit confused about stepping into this space, and our aim, as well as having a community for female founders and retailers benefiting off that because it's commercially successful, is also just to change that narrative of women as business owners and leaders and in positions of power. It has been changing for a while, but you do need role models, you do need people. So our Buy One Built quote is, if you can see it, you can be it. And that is almost the real driver behind what we're doing, is the ability to be able to say, look at these stories, this is amazing, and you can do it too. So yeah, I think that's the big aim, but there's lots of little wins and goals along the way.
Absolutely, and there will be more. And I think it is all just really exciting. I think personally, female founders are so much more visible than they used to be.
Oh,
I don't know if you feel the same, because when I was growing up, we didn't have social media, so I don't think I could have named a female founder when I was 10. Maybe not even at 20, really. But I think now there's just so many, and they're just so much more visible than ever.
And I think that's, the social media has sort of lent into that a bit and allowed the brand story to come out more by people being able to just record almost adverts for themselves on social media. And I think that's really actually helped a lot of women as well, because women are really great at talking to people and being really honest and vulnerable. And, we can see that consumers really like that content. So yeah, I think it's just about giving confidence to female founders that, you can do it. Look, there's people doing it and you can do it too. So believe in yourself.
Thank you. And that was a great piece of advice. But I'm going to ask you for one more. So I'd love to know, this is my final question, Maddie. Yeah. What is the one piece of advice you'd give to a woman running a consumer business who wants to grow her brand's visibility?
Joined by Women Built? No. No, obviously there's multiple things. I think obviously I have the privilege of being able to listen to so many female founders, so many successful female founders talk about how they managed to grow their business. And there's so many different pieces of advice that come out from all of them. But I think the main thing is know your customer. And I think women have a really great opportunity or slight power in that, because as I mentioned earlier, like we do a lot of the shopping, so we understand what consumers want, and usually that's why you started the business in the first place. So it's just knowing that customer so much. And I think in the early stages is just be so creative. Like I can just see so many of our founders that have, you know, managed to just do a massive, you know, quick growth, or have really optimized their product, has been just with really creative marketing strategies. And it's about thinking out the box, and that's what Sahar sort of says, is that scrappy entrepreneurial mindset, that ability that you don't say I can't do anything, you just figure out a solution and you think of a really crazy way to do it, but you just make it happen through this really wacky way, but it just comes off. And I think that's the beauty that I've seen from working with loads of startups and seeing, is like this ability to problem solve in really creative ways and put the product in front of people in really creative ways, has been what's, you know, made that changing point. But yeah, there's so many different things. I always think of Marissa at Perfect Head as well, and those guys went on Dragon's Den and they really creatively optimized the ability that, you know, Stephen agreed to invest in them, and they took that and they were really creative with it and they used it to their advantage. And then, you know, they've shot up so quickly in the last year, and it's really incredible to see. So yeah, there's so many, but yeah, I would say those are the main ones that have resonated.
No, thank you so much. And I want just to add to what you've said, because you might be too modest to say this, is having a community really helps with that as well, because there's nothing like being stuck and being able to go to a group of like-minded people who understand, you know, have the same sort of challenges as you, and say, what would you do in this situation? What have you done in this situation? I think some of my best ideas have actually come from other people and from going out and asking for help and advice.
It's always the way. I literally will never forget when I was at school and I ended up doing this slight curveball, but I ended up doing textiles, and it was just me in the class. And I actually remember I ended up doing worse when it was just me and the teacher than when it was me and a group of other people, because it just allows you to, like, one, not feel so in your head and stressed and like always give yourself these like stress loop cycles of like, oh my God, it's going so badly. Oh God, I can't do it. And you just get to see what other people are doing. You're like, okay, I can help them with that, but they can help me with this. And I don't feel so bad anymore. And it really is that power of being in a community. So I think we honestly have seen it come so naturally out of, you know, the vision Sahar had, but it makes so much sense now. And yeah, we really like, it's the community behind the movement is the core of what we're doing here. So yeah, it's been a real privilege to be able to work with By Women Built for all this time.
Oh, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing, for all of your time. So I'm going to make sure I link to By Women Built and everywhere people can find By Women Built in the show notes for this episode. And thank you so much again, Maddie.
No, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, tell them to head to our website and there's like a submission thing, fill it in. And if they don't hear back, then you can always drop me an email or send me a message on LinkedIn.
That's amazing. Thank you so much
for having me and spreading the message. It's so fab.
Thank you.